Hello. Are we live?
Yes.
Hello, and welcome to the House Geeks Real Estate Show. This show will be aired on AM 950 every Sunday at noon. You can also check us out online anytime at housegeeks.com. Also, check out our Facebook page. Just type in House Geeks and look for the house with the funny glasses. And if you do check
Thanks for the new logo, by the way, Renee.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
It's just inverted.
it's pretty cool.
And if you do check us out online, you'll notice that we have a class coming up tomorrow out in kind of the border of Northeast Minneapolis and Dinkytown, almost bordering St. Anthony, Maine as well. It will be at the Lunds Byerly's at 25 Southeast University Avenue in Minneapolis tomorrow at 6:30. Again, it's at the Lunds and Byerly's at that location. We're told there's plenty of parking, so should be no concerns there. Come join us for a class and maybe some food and some beverages. These classes have been getting really good responses as far as clients commenting that they're gaining knowledge on how to navigate this fast-paced market. We'll also set you up with the most accurate searching tools and researching tools, so you can be the first to know about properties that do hit the market, and you can trust that they're actually available to look at. Today's show will be on reality versus TV shows. As we're out showing clients properties, we notice that some of these HGTV shows are giving people some unrealistic expectations. So we were kind of joking around about
They
it.
aren't. I mean, you go look at 3 houses, you get to negotiate it down $70,000. You're
Yeah,
going to rehab the whole thing
For $12,000.
for $12,000, and you're going to flip it and make 180 grand.
And you don't need to be pre-approved.
I'll tell you what, if that was possible, I would not work as hard, and I would do that instead of helping others buy and sell homes. It sounds like that's a lot more lucrative and a lot less work.
So
Kirk is going to tell a joke. Kirk, let's hear a joke. He's not going to tell a joke. I put him on the spot. He's not prepared.
what's that under there?
What is it? Is it one of these? Should we do a radio show or just continue?
How about the Kirk and Chad joke show?
I think we've had enough mindless banter.
I think I'll walk out.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Owl.
Owl who?
Ooh.
Oh,
He loves dad jokes.
a horse walks into the bar. Bartender looks at him and says, "Why the long face?" You can see why we didn't go into the comedy field and decided to go into real estate instead.
It doesn't stop you from trying.
No, always try. Are you ready, Kirk?
I am.
Awesome.
All right. Welcome to the House Geeks Real Estate Show, sponsored by Bricks Real Estate. I'm Kirk Duckwall. Joining me is Chad Vandelot and Renee Duncan, and we are the House Geeks. If you have any questions for us, give us a call at 612-207-5388. Again, 612-207-5388. Also, make sure you check us out online anytime at housegeeks.com for the greatest in searching and researching tools and a ton about home buyer, home seller education. A lot of wonderful short videos on there, chocked full of information to help you with the buying and selling process, or just general knowledge about what's going on in our real estate market. So today, we're going to be talking about TV versus reality. I think a lot of people spend a lot of time on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings, Sunday evenings, watching certain channels and getting expectations of their home buying and home selling experience and what it would be. And I think it doesn't take very long getting out there to realize that that's just not the case. The problem is you may miss out on opportunities if you're going in with certain expectations that these shows might set for a person. Because how is somebody necessarily to know what the buying process is like, especially, if they're going to be the first ones in their family who are buying a house, or they don't have anybody to ask in the area, what is the market like? And wow, do we ever run into that around here? Especially, let's say you have that person who lives in rural Nebraska giving advice about buying in the Twin Cities, the mother or father of somebody who's looking, all those prices, that's way too much.
Or even if somebody's parents bought a house even 8 years ago when the market was totally different, giving advice to their children.
Right.
The market is fluid. It's not static, and things do change.
Well, and what a lot of people don't realize is that with these TV shows, that you're looking at 6 months or a year ago, 2 years ago. If it's reruns, it could be 4, 5, 6 years ago when the market was completely different. And if you're setting your expectations on what you're hearing about what they're seeing, that's just not a good way to go about it. And real estate, it's so area to area. Somebody negotiating and doing something in Arizona somewhere where they're filming that show that day is not what's going to be going on here.
Well, and regardless, it's usually inaccurate. It doesn't tend to be in any way related to the market. It's purely entertainment. So
right. Hey, stop killing it for everybody, Renee.
And Renee here is a photographer as well. And we've talked many times about the magic of photography and Photoshop and what that can do for a home. I was having coffee in one of the neighborhood coffee shops in St. Paul, and there just happened to be a home in that neighborhood that was on one of those famous TV shows. And the people I was having coffee with actually went and saw the home at an open house or a showing, and they were blown away that it looked nothing like it did on TV. So even the photography and the editing and that can have a huge impact on the perception.
Right. The video photography, great example I use that I personally, I watch Pawn Stars on the History Channel, and they make that shop look huge. That is one small shop. If anybody's ever been out there, it's not big at all. I mean, 1,500 square feet or something, maybe. It's not much space. So yeah, what you see on what they're putting together is just not an accurate representation. So let's talk a little bit about buyer expectations. That the timelines that we see on these shows just are not being projected in the timelines. They don't talk much about how long their search went on, how many places they looked at. I mean, pretty sure that most shows, they look at 3 homes. They sit down for coffee at a cafe, and then they're signing the closing documents. And that's just not really the case at all. You need to probably budget with the market now, with the low inventory, I'd say 45 to 60 days just to find the place, depending on what your expectations and goals are.
Yeah, if you're in that median home price range and you're looking in neighborhoods remotely close to a metropolitan area and neighborhoods where other people are looking in, that can be a little challenging, and you have to move very quickly in this market, in that median home price and below category.
And part of it too, and we'll get into this in a minute or two, is once you find the place, you need to get the place. So it may take a while to even find one that you're like, yeah, I like this, I want to move forward with it. But then you have to get into the negotiations and get that. But let's pass on that for now and talk about, okay, so once you have the place, then you need about 35 to 45 plus days to close on that.
Yeah, from the time you write the purchase agreement and get all signatures on it, meaning an executed agreement, agreeable terms on both parties, And then a lot of the documentation part comes into place, and your loan needs to get clear to close. And it's the financing portion that tends to require that 35, 45 days or even longer sometimes, depending on the lender.
Right. And Renee, you brought up a great point about, how these timelines are perceived on these shows. And it's like people are waiting until, oh, we found the house, let's go get pre-approved.
Yeah, it tends to be kind of backwards just to create that dramatic effect.
Are we going to get it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's not how it works in the real world. You need to be pre-qualified before you're out looking in the first place. And yes, things can fall through after that point, but that's what we're there for, to guide you and warn you against certain things like 30-day lates.
Do you know what printed offers are good for that don't have pre-approval letters?
I don't think you want to go there, Kirk.
I was going to say placemats. What were you thinking?
I was thinking placemats as well.
Okay.
That's odd. We're connected, I swear.
But yeah, basically that's just for dramatic effect. That's not how it works in the industry.
In reality, if you're not pre-approved and you see a house that you would like to write an offer on, chances are other people are writing offers on it at that very time. And by the time you do get pre-approved, that house will no longer be available.
Right. You got to move quick. Let's talk about the monetary expectations that some of these shows set, especially the ones that are reruns. Walking in, and I think we can bid $40,000 under asking price and get this deal.
Yeah, if the house is 1.5 million,
yes,
then maybe.
Yeah.
And if it's been on the market for 2 weeks or more,
water, standing in puddles in the basement.
And you flip on the light and get shocked.
Right. And why is that, right? Why can't they do that when what is the seller going to do? Right.
Well, because behind you, there's 3 other people that want that property.
Right. And even if it was, some negotiation room there, why wouldn't you just drop the price as the seller $5 or $10,000 at a time and just work your way? I mean, this is exactly what the banks do. I had a conversation with somebody a few days back, and we were talking about exactly this. Well, it's a foreclosure, it's a value. I'm going to offer $30,000 less or $40,000 less. It's like, they're not going to take it. And here's why. They're going to drop their price $5 or $10,000 at a time until they get the offer. Now, maybe it is $30,000 or $40,000 less, but they're going to take 6 months to get there.
Yep.
And they're going to make sure there's competition on that.
And they're going to start high. I've seen a lot of these foreclosures where I'm looking around the comps, and they're no cheaper than a traditional sales in many cases.
We're going to take a commercial break here, but when we come back, I want to discuss the auctions properties that we see, because it's always the crowd of people standing out in front of the house bidding on this sheriff sale auction or bank auction, and it's like, boom, we got it, now we're flipping it. And let's talk a bit about the reality of how that plays out in Minnesota versus what you might be seeing in those situations and those states. If you have any questions for us, you can give us a call at 612-207-5388. Again, 612-207-5388. Check us out online at housegeeks.com and follow us on our Facebook page. Just type in House Geeks, look for the little house and funny glasses. We'll take a quick commercial break and be right back. I just hear Chuck Mangione in my head. Because that's what plays on the intros and outros. Ready?
What would Hank Hill say about that?
I didn't watch enough King of the Hill to really. Yeah, I was kind of growing up. Simpsons was over, and I just shut it off. Later in life, got into Family Guy, but.
Yeah, there's a long-running joke within King of the Hill about Chuck Mangione.
I remember you mentioning that. Yes.
I tend to repeat myself.
Yeah. All right, here we go. You're listening to the House Geeks Real Estate Show on AM 950. If you have any questions for us after the show, you can give us a call at 612-207-5388. Again, 612-207-5388. And our wonderful Chad Vandelat will pick up and answer all your real estate questions. Or if you're looking at buying and selling a house, he can help you with that too. All right, so we're talking about TV versus reality today. And some of the expectations that I think TV sets for mostly for home buyers, because there is like Love It or List It or something like that. There are some shows that are geared a little more towards selling houses, but a lot seem to be towards buying. So a little bit more of what we're focusing on today.
Buying or flipping?
Yes.
There's some flipper shows out there, aren't there?
Yes. So let's talk about the auction properties, whether it's for a flipper or the general home buyer. I'm pretty sure that like 90% of our leads that we get that are online leads that come in are people looking at, we want to buy a property, buy a foreclosure, fix it up, whether it's personal or investment. The question almost always will come up. Excuse me. And sometimes they'll get to that point at they start their process, they're not seeing what they want, and then they're like, well, let's look at foreclosures. So people will get into that. Well, I see this pre-foreclosure auction that's coming up
on some of the big consumer-based search sites.
So Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, foreclosures.com, all these different sites, they'll have them on there. And what they aren't, they show it, but you have to really dig into it, right? They don't make it easy to go, where is this property really at? There's, 150 blue little dots on there that say foreclosure, and you have to click on it, and it'll almost always say right below there, this home is not currently for sale or for rent. Usually there's like, do not go out to this home.
Yeah.
As it is not a listing. But honestly, I don't know if people even make it that far when getting into it. They just, it's a foreclosure. I see it's pre-foreclosure or it's auction coming up. And
I think I just looked at Cottage Grove the other day when somebody inquired, and the map had blue dots everywhere. And I put all the information on the MLS, and I think there were 3 active foreclosures in Cottage Grove.
Right. So what you're seeing is a data feed coming from the county website, and it's not the foreclosure property like listing. It's the data feed, and where that stops. So if a property goes into default, it'll show up on Zillow as pre-foreclosure. If the person pays up their mortgage and gets back to current, it still will show up as pre-foreclosure year after year after year, unless somebody requests that gets changed and gets flagged. Because there's nothing that those sites pick up on that say that status has changed. We see ones that'll date back to 2009 in there, So you want to make sure that you're looking at, not only what status it's in, and basically we have in Minnesota, we have pre-foreclosure, which or default, notice of default, which on Zillow and Trulia show up as pre-foreclosure. And then you have pre-foreclosure auction on those sites, but that's really just sheriff sale. This is where on the TV shows you see a lot of them, it's like, they're standing out in front of the house and they all get to run through real quick, and then they're auctioning it off. The county's auctioning it off. That's not how it works here. Because
let's put some numbers to this. How many properties do you think you've sold in your career, Kirk?
600, 700.
And how many of those were at a sheriff sale auction?
0.
Why is that?
It's because the sheriff sale is a process administrative process for the bank to get back their note. The reason being is if this home was really worth more than what they owed, the seller would have just sold it, and typically then just let it go into foreclosure, right? So why?
They would have sold it to avoid the foreclosure
exactly.
process.
Yeah.
Or if they were even close to being above water on their mortgage, maybe they would have sold it as a short sale because that hits their credit a little less.
Right.
So a lot of these will.
Right. So, I've seen investors do bidding at sheriff sales. Almost always, though, that doesn't make sense. It's better off, if you're going to go that route, you pick it up in redemption.
Exactly.
So,
or at a short sale.
Right, exactly. But there's a lot of risk when you buy a property at the sheriff sale in Minnesota, because what you're doing is you're buying a property you don't get to see ahead of time. You're not like on TV where they're running through ahead of time. You don't get to see this. So you have to bid on a property you haven't seen. And then you are buying a note at probably more than it's really worth. And then you have to let the homeowner still have the property for another 6 months. Basically.
And you may be responsible for all of the liens and back taxes and that kind of stuff to get the property to a point where it has marketable title and it can be sold to somebody else.
Exactly. So the auction that you see now, are there auctions out there where foreclosures are sold? Yes, but it's not this pre-foreclosure auction. It's after the bank has already taken the property, at least past the sheriff's sale point. Now, maybe it's in redemption. You got to be really, really careful there, though, if you're buying auction and redemption properties, because once again, you're going to be responsible for all those things you mentioned, Chad. So what you really want to do is get properties after the redemption, if this is even right for you. These homes have been neglected typically, maybe vacated for months on end prior to the bank taking it. Maybe in the wintertime, it's got broken mechanicals, water problems in the basement, mold, whatever that it might be. So,
and when did the pipes get filled with the antifreeze? When did they get winterized?
Right.
It's the homeowners really don't have any choice as to when they have to vacate, and the bank is under certain guidelines as to when they can start to enter the property to get the property winterized. So there's there's some risk there if these pipes have been had freeze damage to them.
At the end of the day, for most buyers, if you're going to look at foreclosures, look at the ones that actually make it out to the main MLS system. We can go look at them. We can see if there's problems at a time. Usually there'll be a timeline of when they're accepting offers. It takes a lot of that risk out of there.
Well, and to clarify, I think a lot of people don't understand this, especially if they're a first-time home buyer or have just never been through this process. And people who have been through the process are usually ashamed and don't want to speak up about it. But to clarify for those looking for a deal in a foreclosure, the foreclosure process is a very long process. There's ample opportunity for the homeowner to redeem that property.
Right.
And so, like you mentioned, going to the auction, that still doesn't give you ownership of the property. The current owner can still keep it.
Right.
So I think that's something that people don't understand.
Right.
Foreclosures.
Hey, Kirk, I'm looking for a foreclosure property to fix up, and I'll just get a loan that's got some extra money in it, so then I can get new appliances and a new furnace and put new carpeting and flooring in it.
Oh, okay. So
I'll just get a little extra on my loan.
FHA loan that you got, we can't use that.
Oh, why not? I can put 3.5% down.
Yeah, well, we're going to need to do a rehab loan.
Oh,
and by the way, we need to get estimates from all professional contractors to come out ahead of time.
But I want to do the work myself to save money.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we're not going to lend you money and just let you do a hack job of doing it. We need professional contractor estimates if we're going to give you money to do that. Okay, Chad, great point. We got about a minute left. And what he's talking about there is a lot of people have the expectations you can borrow money more than you need to fix up the properties. This is achievable, but it's not achievable typically through your standard means of getting financing. And, what you need to look into rehab financing or, financing where it's in-house portfolio, where it's geared towards this kind of thing. And see, if you're looking for funds to assist, you've got to really pre-plan in that. All right, well, we definitely left a few things on the table. Oh, real quick, reality versus TV. Homes, 90% of homes don't sell at open houses, by the way. So just touch on that real fast. If you want more on that, give us a call. All right, great show. Thanks, guys, for coming out. Any questions? 612-207-5388. 612-207-5388. We'll be back again next week. All right. Do we want to talk about me burping on air in front of Facebook Live?
I don't know why you drink pop for this. I learned my lesson last time.
Yeah, maybe I should not.
No.
Yeah, I'll just drink water.
Yeah, water is good.
See, the good thing is I think I can edit that out of there so it'll never make it to air.